What's up, guys? I've been getting this question of why did I leave my past job quite a bit on social media. I wanted to come on here and kind of address it. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but as you may or may not know, my past position that I worked at up until leaving in January of 2025, I was making six figures. In 2024, I think I took home about 130 grand, maybe a tiny bit more. In 2023, I made about 160,000, and I haven't made less than six figures in many years in a row now. People always ask me like, "What made you leave?" And especially it came from people inside of that company who had also left or who had been let go or who are still there and thinking about leaving and doing something out on their own. And the reason is kind of contrary to what most people might believe. I loved the company that I worked for. I thought they were absolutely incredible. I thought the leadership was absolutely great. It was a hard company to work for. Like they weren't pushovers. They were growth focused, which means that they had pretty like strict requirements and quotas and things they wanted people to meet. They weren't easy to work for by any means, but they were absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have asked to work for a better company. I've had a very lucky stride in companies that I've actually ended up working for and people that I've worked for. They kind of have shown me the way to continue to always push for growth. And the company that I worked for, I just wanted to go out on my own, and it wasn't because I hated the company. I loved the company. I loved the leadership. I loved everything about the job. I loved the people that I worked around all day. The reason that I left is because I knew that if I didn't do it now, I never would. And all throughout my life, I always had my own companies. If you watched my introduction to my entrepreneurship journey, my first video I ever put out, I've had businesses my entire life. I went from landscaping, I had a social media marketing agency, I grew social media accounts and sold advertising. I like had drop shipping companies. I had like branded like products, I guess. I had a brand, like an e-commerce brand that was just like products or whatever. But I've always had my own businesses that I've always tried, my wholesale apparel company, and I've always wanted to go out on my own. And now that I'm getting into like my middle age where life gets serious, I knew that I wanted to propose to Maddie heading into this year. I knew that I wanted to marry Maddie. I know that I want to have a family one day. And as you add these things into your life, you have a lot more responsibilities, you have a lot more things that you need to actually think about. And I knew that if I didn't go out on my own now and give it a try, I never would because I'm not going to take that risk when I have a family and a child to feed. I went out and I took that risk before life got too serious. So that's really the only reason that I did it. It wasn't like I was sitting in the office miserable or anything like that. I loved going into work every day. I miss the place that I used to work for very often. I miss all the people. I miss the friends that I had in the office. I still hang out with some of them just to go golfing and whatnot, but I I oftentimes think about where I used to work and how much I miss the place and how much I love the place and how much I love people. And it's kind of been that way throughout my entire life, but just for the purpose of this video and this conversation, thinking about why I left the job, it wasn't like I was sitting there and out of spite and thought like these guys don't pay me enough. I want a bigger cut. I was fine with the cut that I was making. I've never needed a lot of money to be happy. I've always just been happy and smiled. And I thought that they paid me plenty. And I'm not one of these people who's against a company making a lot of money off of my hard work. Like my company, they took a big risk in hiring me on. They take a big risk in hiring everyone on. Even if you think that you're going to pay it back at tenfold, a company doesn't know that. So it's naive of you to think that it's not a risk to hire you and pay you a salary up front, provide you benefits, all of these things, develop you, give you trainings, anything like this. It's a risk bringing on an employee at any point in time, even if the risk is smaller in terms of monetary figure or whatever. It's a risk always. So they deserve, because they put risk on the table and they put chips on the table first, they deserve a payout for that. So I have nothing against the company making a big percentage if they give me a salary and they give me benefits or they reduce what my benefit cost would be. There's nothing ill in my heart towards my old company. And I don't want I want that company to do very well, and I hear they are doing very well, and I'm very happy about that. I hear that my old accounts that I landed and ran with and worked with while I was there, I hear they're doing very well, and I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that my book of business lived beyond me there and that it wasn't just reliant on me. That's a good thing for all businesses. That's a good thing for who I am now because that means that I could pass on my new book of business to my next employees and let them run it, and I could step out potentially. That just tells me that they taught me correctly and that I should appreciate everything that they did for me. But there's to answer the question of why did I leave the six-figure job, it was just because if I didn't do it now, I never would. And I knew that I could always go back.